I wasn't supposed to be there that night. I was only filling in for a friend, his shift, his delivery, his mistake. But when the heavy oak door swung open and she stood there, framed by a hallway of muted lamplight, something in my chest shifted like a lock turning. She didn't look 60 the way people say it, as if it were a punchline. She looked quiet, self-possessed. A gray cashmere sweater falling off one shoulder, hair still damp from a shower, eyes searching mine as though I'd come for more than a package. "Leave it on the table," she said softly, then hesitated. "Actually, could you help me carry it inside?" Her voice had that careful warmth of someone who hasn't had company in a while. I nodded, stepped over the threshold, and the smell of chamomile tea and books hit me. A single mug sat cooling on the counter, a second one poured but untouched. She noticed me glance at it and gave a small, crooked smile, as if caught. "I always make two," she murmured. "Old habit." I didn't know what to answer. My hands brushed hers when I set the box down. She pulled back quickly, but not before I felt the tremor in her fingers. She asked my name. I told her. She said hers, Evelyn. The syllables felt like the ending of a prayer. Outside, rain started without warning, hard against the windows. I should have left. But she glanced at the door, then at me, and said, "Stay until it eases. No sense in getting soaked." We stood in her kitchen pretending not to look at each other. She fussed with the teapot. I dried my hands on my jeans. The radio murmured an old jazz standard, and the room filled with a silence that wasn't uncomfortable so much as precarious, like a bridge you weren't sure would hold. "You're younger than most delivery guys," she said at last, eyes fixed on the steam rising from the spout. 23, I said. "Still finishing school." She nodded but didn't lift her gaze. "My son would have been about your age." The way she said it would have landed somewhere deep. I swallowed a dozen questions and said none. Instead, I reached for the second mug. "This one's going cold," I said quietly. "May I?" Her lips parted, a faint surprise, then she gave the smallest nod. I poured. We stood shoulder to shoulder, drinking, saying nothing. Her perfume, or maybe it was just the soap from her shower, was warm and understated. It made me dizzy in a way I didn't want to name. When I finally spoke, it came out low. "It's nice here. Peaceful." She gave a quick laugh. "It used to be." She caught herself, drew in a breath, and pressed a hand flat against the counter as if steadying herself. Outside, thunder rolled. The lights flickered once. And then, 3 sharp knocks on the back door. Not the front one I'd come through. The sound startled both of us. Her mug clinked against the sink. Evelyn's eyes darted to mine, wide now, all composure gone. "No one uses that door," she whispered. Another knock. Louder. She set her mug down with a trembling hand. "Don't answer," she said, but she was already moving toward it. I followed, hard hammering, rain pounding on the roof, wondering who, or what, waited on the other side. The second knock never came. Whoever had been at the back door vanished into the rain, leaving only water streaking the glass. Evelyn slid the bolt across with a soft click and exhaled through her nose, almost a laugh but not quite. "Strangers don't usually find this place," she said, turning from the door. "It's a little off the road." I noticed then the framed photographs on the hallway wall. One of her, younger, in a pale wedding dress. Another of a boy about my age, smiling at a beach. I didn't stare long. I felt like an intruder in someone's unspoken history. Back in the kitchen she refilled our mugs, though either of us had finished the first. Her hands were steady now. Mine weren't. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "That must have felt odd. I'm not used to company." "It's okay," I said. "I'm not used to houses like this." She smiled faintly. "Too quiet?" "No," I said, meaning it. Just full. Her eyes flicked to mine. For a heartbeat I thought she would tell me something, but she looked down instead. My husband passed 10 years ago, she said finally. Heart attack. Sudden. Her thumb rubbed the rim of her cup. And my son, he left as soon as he could. We don't speak much anymore. I nodded, not sure what to offer. I wanted to ask why, but the way she held herself, shoulders square, chin set, made it clear the story was a wound still open. She glanced at me. And you? Still in school, you said? Yeah, I said. Part-time work. Trying to get out of debt before I finish. I hesitated. My mom's about your age. She raised me alone. So, I get the empty house thing. Her eyes softened at that. It's not empty, she said. Just quieter than I expected life to be. We sat in that quiet. The radio had long since faded into static, but neither of us moved to shut it off. I shouldn't have been thinking what I was thinking. She could have been my professor. My friend's mother. Someone untouchable. But the way she held her cup with both hands, elbows tucked in, hair falling forward, she didn't look untouchable. She looked like someone bracing herself against the cold. I shifted my chair closer under the pretense of reaching for a napkin. Our knees brushed. Neither of us moved away. She set her mug down slowly, as though every motion had to be considered. You should probably go before the rain lets up, she said, but she didn't sound convinced. I can wait a little longer, I said. She looked at me then, really looked, eyes dark and unguarded. Something flickered there, something I wasn't supposed to see. She reached out, almost without thinking, and brushed a stray drop of rain from my hairline. Her fingertips lingered a second too long. Neither of us said anything. Rain hammered the windows like 1,000 fingers. Evelyn's hand was still near my temple, her thumb an inch from my eyebrow, when a sudden metallic rattle broke the moment. The front door. A key turning. She jerked back as if burned. God, she whispered, pressing both palms to the counter. Someone's coming? My voice cracked. Her eyes flicked toward the hallway. My son! He said he wouldn't. She stopped herself, swallowed. Stay here. Before I could move, a tall man stepped into the kitchen doorway. Mid-20s, damp hoodie, the same eyes as hers but harder. He froze when he saw me. Who's this? He asked flatly. Delivery, I said too quickly. Evelyn's voice went tight. He was just leaving. Her son's gaze flicked between us, taking in the mugs, the chairs drawn close. His jaw worked. At night in the rain? I started for the door, but my hand shook on the knob. Behind me, she said. Daniel, please, in a tone I'd only heard in Mother's on the edge of breaking. I'll go, I murmured, but she touched my arm, light, quick, like a plea. Daniel saw it. His lips pressed into a thin line. Do what you want, he muttered, and disappeared down the hall, a door slamming seconds later. The silence afterward felt heavier than the storm. Evelyn stayed where she was, eyes on the floor. He's protective, she said finally. He thinks I'm fragile. You're not, I said, softer than I meant to. She gave a humorless laugh. I'm old enough to be your mother. I opened my mouth, then shut it. The truth hovered between us, the age gap, the loss, the line we hadn't crossed but were standing right on. I should go, I said. You can't, she said at the same time. Then, quickly, not yet. The rain's worse. Our eyes met. Something unspoken moved between us, a current neither of us wanted to name. She stepped closer, voice low. Whatever you think this is, I'm not thinking, I said. We were inches apart now. Her breath trembled against my cheek. For a heartbeat the world went silent except for the rain. My hands lifted, then stopped midair. Her eyes searched mine, wide, uncertain. And then a phone buzzed on the counter. Loud. Jarring. She flinched back, grabbed it. A single text glowed on the screen. I saw only the sender's name before she turned it away. Her knuckles were white around the phone. "I need you to leave," she whispered. But when I reached for my jacket, she caught my wrist, not hard, but enough to stop me. "Wait." Her voice broke on the word. "Just don't go yet." We stood locked like that, the storm pressing against the house, her son's door shut at the end of the hall, both of us caught between the life she'd built and the one neither of us had yet dared to imagine. The house had gone still except for the ticking of a clock and the hiss of rain in the gutters. Evelyn hadn't moved from where she held my wrist. Her son's door at the end of the hall stayed closed, but the tension from it reached us like a wire pulled tight. "I shouldn't have asked you to stay," she said finally. Her fingers loosened but didn't let go. "This is wrong. I'm not here for anything you don't want," I said. The words felt thin even as I spoke them. She dropped my wrist, turned away, and began wiping an already clean counter with a dishcloth. "I've spent years keeping things quiet. My neighbors. My church. Daniel. Everyone has a version of me they need me to be. You showing up." She trailed off, pressing the cloth flat to the counter like she might wring it in two. I stepped closer. "I didn't mean to, I know." Her voice cracked. "But you did." She spun then, eyes bright, and for the first time I saw anger under her composure. "Do you have any idea what it looks like? My son walks in and sees a boy. I'm not a boy," I said, sharper than I intended. My heart slammed against my ribs. "I'm not." The room seemed to tilt. She stared at me, and some of the anger drained away, leaving something more dangerous, fear or desire or both. "You think I haven't noticed?" she whispered. "How you look at me. How I wait for you to knock again." She put a hand to her own mouth as though she'd gone too far. I wanted to tell her I'd tried to stay away, that I'd stood outside her door twice this week with nothing to deliver, that I'd rehearsed leaving and never could. Instead I said nothing. She shook her head. "This is a mistake." I reached out, caught her hand before she could pull it back. "Then why are you still holding on?" My thumb grazed her palm. Her breath hitched. We were standing too close, both of us trembling in the same small circle of kitchen light. A floorboard creaked down the hall. We froze. Daniel's door was still shut, but the sound snapped whatever thread of restraint was left between us. "I can't do this," she said, but she didn't move away. "He'll hate me. They all will." "Then just tell me to go," I said. "Mean it. And I will." She lifted her face. Our eyes locked. The dishcloth slipped from her fingers and landed on the floor with a soft thud. For a second the whole house seemed to hold its breath. She opened her mouth. Outside, a car door slammed. Inside, our shadows merged on the wall. The slam of the car door echoed through the rain like a gunshot. Evelyn's eyes darted toward the window. "No one was supposed to come," she murmured. She moved past me, pulled back the curtain with 2 fingers. The driveway was empty except for the glare of headlights cutting through the downpour. "Daniel doesn't drive," she whispered. "That's not him." A knock rattled the front door before she could finish. 3 times. Deliberate. She stepped back, pressing her palm to her throat. "Stay here," she said, but her voice had no strength in it. Through the distorted glass I saw a man in a black coat, face shadowed by the porch light. He bent closer to the window as if peering in. Something about his stance made the hairs on my arms lift. Evelyn reached for the handle, then stopped herself, fingers trembling. "That's—" she started, then bit the rest off. I moved to her side. "You know him?" Her mouth worked soundlessly, then she said, "My husband's brother." She blinked hard. "He wasn't supposed to, he lives 3 states away." She opened the door a crack before I could stop her. "Frank," she said, voice brittle. "What are you doing here?" He stepped in without waiting to be invited. Rain clung to his coat, dripping onto the mat. "We need to talk," he said. His eyes swept the kitchen and landed on me. "Who's this?" "Delivery," she said again, but softer this time. He gave a small, disbelieving laugh. "At midnight?" "Evelyn." I felt his gaze crawl over me, weighing every detail: my age, the closeness between us, the mugs. He looked back at her. "Daniel called me. Said he was worried." Evelyn flinched. "He had no right, he's scared for you," Frank said. "And frankly, so am I." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "This is what you're doing now, boys?" Her cheeks flushed, but she didn't look away. "You don't get to judge me." He reached out as if to take her arm. I moved instinctively, placing myself between them. "Don't," I said quietly. For a moment no one moved. The storm pressed against the windows. Evelyn's son's door stayed closed, but I imagined him listening, every word a nail in the coffin of whatever fragile privacy we built. "I'm not leaving," Frank said. "Not until we sort this." "I need you to go," Evelyn said, but her voice broke on the word. "Please." His gaze slid past me to her again, softer now but edged with pity. "He'll ruin you, Evie," he murmured. "Like your last mistake." Her hands clenched at her sides. "Get out," she whispered. "Both of you if you have to." I looked at her, rain still in my hair, heart hammering. "Is that what you want?" I asked. She didn't answer. Only closed her eyes as if bracing for impact. Some choice, some confession, rising in her throat like a wave about to break. Frank's presence filled the kitchen like smoke. Rainwater pooled on the tile from his coat. Evelyn stood between us, one hand gripping the counter as though it were the only solid thing left. Her son's door remained shut down the hall, a silent witness. I said, "Get out," she whispered again, louder this time. "Both of you if you have to." Frank stared at her, then at me. "You don't even know him, Evie." Her chin lifted. "I know enough." Her eyes flicked to mine and stayed there. "I know I haven't felt awake in years until he walked through that door." I swallowed hard. My pulse thundered in my ears. "Tell me to leave," I said, voice unsteady. "If this is a mistake, tell me now." Frank laughed once, bitter. "This is insane." Evelyn turned on him. "What's insane is living like I died when he did," she said, each word sharp. "I've done nothing but hold my breath for a decade. And Daniel," she stopped, her voice catching. "I'm allowed to feel something again." Her shoulders sagged. She turned to me, and for the first time I saw all the fear she'd been carrying, not just of what people would think, but of herself, of losing control. "I don't know where this goes," she whispered. "I don't know if it's right." "I don't either," I said. My hands trembled at my sides. "But I'm here." Silence stretched between us, heavy but alive. Outside the storm eased, a softer patter against the roof. Frank shifted his weight but didn't move closer. Evelyn reached for me then, slow, as if testing gravity. Her fingertips brushed my wrist, lingered. "I can't promise you anything," she said. "Not safety. Not a future. I'm not asking for promises," I said. Her eyes closed, a tear slipped free. When she opened them again, she looked straight at her brother-in-law. "Go home, Frank. This isn't your call." He opened his mouth, then shut it. For a moment he just looked at her, some mix of anger and grief on his face. Finally he said, "Daniel's not a child anymore. He'll see this for what it is." He grabbed his coat and left, the door slamming behind him. The house went quiet again. Evelyn's hand was still on mine, warm and unsteady. We stood like that, the two mugs cold on the counter, the weight of what had just happened settling around us. "I don't know how to tell him," she murmured. "Daniel. We'll figure it out," I said. My voice was low, but the words felt like a vow. She gave a small, shaky laugh, then let out a breath she'd been holding for years. We didn't move closer, not yet, but neither of us stepped back. The kitchen smelled of rain and chamomile. Outside, the clouds were breaking, a thin seam of pale light at the horizon. For the first time, it didn't feel like a secret. It felt like the beginning of something, messy, fragile, but real. Morning came gray and thin, the kind of light that makes everything look honest. I hadn't slept. Neither had she. We sat at her kitchen table with a pot of fresh coffee between us, steam rising in slow curls. Outside the storm had gone, leaving the garden soaked and glistening. Daniel's door opened at last. He stepped into the kitchen barefoot, hair messy, eyes red from either sleep or anger. He saw me, then her. His jaw tightened. "He's still here," he said flatly. Evelyn's hand found mine under the table, a small, steadying touch. "He is," she said. Her voice was quiet but unshaken. "And I need to tell you why." Daniel's gaze flicked our joined hands. "You don't have to." "I do." She stood. "I spent too long pretending for everyone's comfort. I'm not going to anymore. This," she gestured between us. "It wasn't planned. It's complicated. But it's mine." He stared at her, at me, at the floor. His lips pressed into a hard line. "Dad's been gone 10 years," he said. "I thought you were done." "I thought so too," she answered. "I'm still your mother. That hasn't changed." Silence. Then, finally, he nodded once, grudging, but real, and left the room. The front door clicked shut behind him. She exhaled, shoulders sagging. "I don't know if he'll forgive me," she said. "Give him time," I said. My thumb traced small circles on the back of her hand. "He'll see you're still you." We sat like that, the two of us in the quiet kitchen, coffee cooling, rain smell fading. No declarations, no promises. Just a shared decision not to hide anymore. Later, I stood by the door with my jacket. "Do you want me to stay?" I asked. My voice was almost a whisper. She hesitated, then crossed the room and pressed her forehead to mine. "Yes," she said. "But not as a secret. Not as a mistake. If you stay, we walk out there together." The window reflected us, two figures, imperfect but upright, leaning into the same patch of morning light. Whatever waited outside, gossip, judgment, Daniel's slow forgiveness, we would meet it. For once, neither of us was holding our breath. She gave a small, wry smile. "I never expected to begin again at 60, she said. I smiled back. "I never expected you." The kettle clicked off in the background. Birds started up in the wet trees. We stood there a long time, breathing, until she reached up and brushed a damp strand of hair from my face the same way she had the first night. It felt like a circle closing, and something new opening. We stepped out onto the porch together, into the washed, clean air. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?